Hello traders, Cory Mitchell here with TradeThatSwing.com. We're going to look at the EURUSD. I thought Friday had some interesting price action. That was Friday, November 7th, 2025. I have a few things drawn on here, which we're just going to go over quickly. And yeah, look at a few things to avoid, look at a few things to make sure that we're in, and well, that I would want to be in. You can, of course, decide however you want to trade, the types of trades you want to take. I really liked this one. You've come down, you've probed this area, you have room back up to this high, you have a pullback. If you even wanted to look at this as a little range, you're coming back to test it, looking at those horizontal areas, which I've been looking at more in these videos simply because I found a lot of people, they find it really helpful to look at those levels. So you have the pullback and takes off, target up near those highs. I think when I put it on there right around here was a 2-to-1. If we went a little above, 2.5 to 1. So yeah, that was a good one I like. What about the snapback? There's a snapback right there. It's not bad. It would have worked out if we're putting a target just kind of near that high or just above it. The risk reward's probably not quite there, but nice pattern. We can tell we're trying to get back up toward that level. We had the little false break. We had these lows. We have a little false breakout at the bottom a couple times. Can't go anywhere. So price really rejected down here. Good chance it's going to come up, try to test that high. Stop losses are going to be sitting above there. So anyone who went short has a buy stop loss sitting above there, which means if the price gets there, those orders get triggered as buy orders, market orders. Whoop, boom, flips through them. Those orders get triggered. You get the little spike. So you can put, an order just above. But from here, let's just look what it probably would have been. Let's say, 2 pip stop loss. If you have a spread, might have been higher for you. So going just above, you're kind of around that maybe 1-to-1. 1-to-1's just above. 1-to-1's just above 1.5. You're getting a little bit above. Maybe catch that little flick through, but I wouldn't be able to go much more than that. So I wouldn't want to. So you're looking at pretty low risk reward. Now the fact that it ran, to me, fine, that's great. But at that time, from what I can see, I have to respect that area. So, if I did take that trade, it's going to be a 1-to-1, 1.5 to 1 reward to risk, which isn't quite ideal, but we could take it if you're into that sort of thing. What about this one? We don't know there's going to be a high yet there. Pulls back to this area, goes. To me, that looks pretty good. I'd take that one. It ended up being a loser, but that's fine. I like it. Then we get a move right back to the high. So what are we watching for at this point? A double pump long. Do we take the short right there? Look at it. So we're watching this area for a potential double pump. We're also watching for the bounce off this old area again. Do we take the short? We could. We're back into this old range by the time that triggers right there, that little line. We're kind of sitting right on those little highs there, but pretty minor. But I would be viewing this in this situation, if this starts dumping, anyone who bought in here, the further it dumps, the more scared they get, the more stop losses it starts triggering, because people who went long have stop losses below here. So as this drops, it potentially starts triggering those orders. If you bought in here, you would have a sell stop order. So as it hits those, it adds fuel to the selling. So here, we want to see that drop. If we're taking the short, we want to see that acceleration. And since we're pretty much right near that line, and kind of also on these little highs here, we're at a bit of a like inflection point. It's not really, we haven't really definitively made the turn lower. It's more of kind of like, we can take the trade, but if it doesn't drop, we're in danger of basically the reverse happening, where if it starts going up, everyone who sold in here now feels regret. People who realize, we're bouncing off the sold range, they're buying. So it can flip quickly who's screwed. And so in this case, you can see I drew a little line there, because when that doesn't go, so we have this bigger drop, pulls back, and this is interesting too, the real-time analysis of momentum. So you have this drop, it's all red bars, little pullback, red bar. The fact that it stalls there, and then, because if this happens, you could put your stop loss above each one of these bars if these same bars happen down here. Does that make sense? If what happened before happens again, you could have used a trailing stop loss above each candle and not been stopped out. The fact that this starts dropping, you could put a stop loss above every candle, and if we get the move to the downside swiftly, like we would want in this case, because we're right on the line and we're still at that inflection point, we shouldn't get stopped out if it drops. We would only get stopped out with the aggressive trailing stop loss if it does make the turn off that level like it did here. It runs out of steam very quickly. It only gives us one red candle, stalls, and then takes out a candle high. That is not ideal right at an inflection point. So that would be basically pretty close to break even, maybe a tiny loss. And then it starts holding this level again. I don't know if I would go long here per se, but you could. We don't quite. I guess we do have a bit of a rounded bottom there, right? Slightly higher swing high than that one. So if you took that as a rounded bottom, again, you'd be targeting the highs. Probably would get you 2 to 1. I was not really looking at that as a trade, but now that I see it, that's wouldn't be too bad either. We're kind of holding, bouncing off that area. We can't seem to gain traction back into this old big area. But what I did find interesting was, so we have this drop, then we do have this pullback, and then we move right back to the high. So once that happens, let's kind of clear away some of this clutter. Right, so range is important, and then, okay, it bounces off of it. We move back to the high. Now I view this low as more important, so we basically have price moving in from this high down to this low. What is this? If you look at this big pattern, maybe let me clear it up for a second. This is a big double pump, right? We have a big wave coming in. Now this does have a few waves in it, but it's very clean in the sense that we get the pullback, move up, pullback, move up, pullback, move up. It's not, wouldn't have stopped out any of these triggers. This one didn't move up much, but that's okay. It still was a clean trigger in the sense that once it started moving up, it went up. Gets to the high, so what are we watching for? Double pump, pullback to these lows. It's a bigger pattern. If we're going to trade bigger patterns, I want them to be clean. Otherwise, they pretty much just become for analysis purposes. By clean, I mean swift drop, sharp turn. Exactly what we get there. Notice how it drops very quick. There's not a lot of wiggles in that. It's red bar, red bar, red bar, red bar, and then a clean turn. It bottoms, and then once it clears the candle high, it's off on its way. It doesn't chop back below this low. That is clean movement. It makes sharp turns, and then it makes a sharp turn up here. Stalls out, your first trigger to the downside goes right to the bottom. And a little bit, it doesn't quite get to the low there, pretty close. And I'm not even sure if you'd get triggered in. You'd have to be extremely right on the button at that second. Then we get this little drop, and very clean move. So everything's pretty clean through here. Then you get this trigger to the upside once it hits that old low, or very close to it, and we have a move to the upside. And again, that's probably 2 to 1 sitting right at those highs. Could go slightly above if you wanted. A few things to note. We had this old big range. Price does break out, doesn't move a lot, right? Only manages to get about 5 pips up there, tries to go back in, and then we get stuck in this kind of new range for a while. Can't make a lot of progress. I want to note that because something has changed. Here we were moving a lot more quickly to the upside, and now we're forming these bigger ranges. Even here, little range, struggled, only got about 5 pips of progress, and then got choppy again. 5 pips of progress, got choppy again. I want to note that, because do I want to really think of a huge move out? Not, the price action's kind of saying we're choppy, we're getting a little more grindy on this bigger scheme. Now that can still mean we can easily get 2.5 to 1 targets potentially, but this is noteworthy that this move up didn't really run a lot. This one didn't run a lot, and the same thing ends up happening where we don't run a lot and we get stuck. Do we want to keep kind of hammering this? Well, this is getting a lot tighter, choppier than it was before. I would not want to take a round. I don't know if there is one. You possibly could see one as it chops, moves up, tries to break below that low, but we are above those old highs. I don't love that. I would prefer to see if it dropped in, then had a pullback, held inside this old range, then you have room to move back to the low. At this point, do we take a TC right there? Well, if you're going to take a TC, you have to look at the movement. We are holding on this level, so that is a key level. That's important. And potentially could take one there. This is our first kind of hold outside this old range. So if we took it, totally fine. And then it doesn't work out and you get the double pump. So stop loss would be sitting down here, and it tries to go again. Can't really gain any traction. So you would have sat in that trade for quite a while. It would eventually hit 2 to 1 with your stop loss just below here. But after this, we do have a double pump again. High here, pull back, high here, pull back to that low. Pretty choppy coming in. We haven't made much progress above this old range. Sure, it did end up going higher, but this is also getting pretty whipsawy in here. At this stage, not super interested in trading. So just a few things that you can check out, think about. Always I'm showing some things that I see and how I like to think about things. Take what you like, leave the rest, incorporate it with what you see, what you like, and that forms your own method. That's how you're going to trade best. I don't know if it's possible to trade exactly like someone else because we all have different brains and stuff. So yeah, take what you like, leave the rest, and just some ideas for you to look through, think about. Happy trading.